Before we leave the topic of unsavory mealy-mouthed characters, King, I think you had a question for Teddy to respond to some recent comments.
Oh yeah, well, I was going to ask just in general, like the big thing everybody's talking about is this Peacock special. I don't know if you want to talk about that. It looked like you kind of got railroaded by this guy, this Weasley guy that wanted to make it all about himself. And then also a guy that I have some history with, Jimsy, old Jim Cornette, was had some disparaging things to say about you recently. So I wanted to give you the floor to talk about that.
I can't talk too much about the documentary yet, but I can mention there's certain things I think I'm safe to talk about. So, but all the years I met Jim Cornette, a few times I met him. So his big thing was he talked shit. He said that he was pulling apart Samoa Joe from trying to beat me up in the back or something. So, which no one tells the story correctly at all. I don't know why people just are stupid or they don't remember, but or they're just lying. But my memory is always very good for especially for these types of things. And again, that video tried to tear me apart as making me look like a liar, which is though you could cut and shit. It's like, dude, I've been telling the same story for 20 years, and my story's always been basically me burying myself and telling the truth and explaining that if I thought I was really going to make money in pro wrestling 20 years ago, I wouldn't have been a huge marijuana guy, considering WWE knows enough, and it's a small little group of people. And I would have always thought Hannibal at least would have known that. I made a lot of money on the street with weed for years, and I've lived a pretty good lifestyle besides, I guess, the 2 years that Hannibal met me during Mat Rats, and then I guess the 3 years that I was in Pennsylvania. So between that, I think was 20 years or 21 years or something we've known each other for. So I guess during those times, he wasn't there doing my accounting to understand if I had money or not. And this is more of a joke to Devin. If you guys got 20 fucking years of me and Jim Cornette says he saw something happen 20 years ago or something like this, and that Samoa Joe was going to kill me, it's like, I said the same thing from day one. If Samoa Joe wanted to fight that badly, then why didn't he ever come up and see me or talk to me again at any other show? And he never did. And we talked many times, and it was basically something that we just discussed, and it was never brought up again, really. So he wasn't that mad about it. He didn't care. And I said, again, if somebody wants to fight, I'm not the toughest guy in the world, but just walk me outside. And chances are I'm not that hard to convince, especially if you're going to punch me first. Then punch me first on top of that and then see what happens. Because that's every guy's challenge, I guess, or obstacle. I still have all my teeth in my mouth, guys. 25 years fucking later, I've been wrestling and doing the same thing in the same shtick. And, so I just get upset when I hear guys like Jim Cornette say something. And then he's like, when I met Jim Cornette, I snatched him right away. And he's a heavy-set guy. He's scared. You could tell. Sami Callihan was going to beat the shit out of Jim Cornette, and he was terrified. And Sami Callihan seemed like a pretty straight shooter type of guy. Like and he said, I want that fucking guy out of here now. He's a piece of shit. All he does is talk shit, and he's so opinionated, and he's a fucking two-faced coward. And he said he was a piece of shit. I remember Sami Callihan wanted him out of the fucking MLW locker room, and it caused a big fight with him in court. And so I took the day. I'm like, I'm going to actually talk to Cornette here because I've always wanted to talk to him. So I sat with him. I talked to him about Owen a little bit. I talked to him about wrestling in general, a little bit about life. I think I even mentioned something because I heard he travels with a lot of sex toys and like weird shit. Like I just heard that he has a bunch of fetishes and different things that I've heard over the years that Jim Cornette's like a weirdo. So I just wanted to talk to him for a bit, and he seemed really nice. And then he put me over on a podcast. And then he said, I met Teddy, seemed pretty good. And, a little smaller and not bad worker. It's like, not bad worker, Jim. I don't know what consists of being a good worker for you, but you're definitely not the critic or the guy that I'm trying to fucking impress. And
exactly. Where does that come from, Teddy? And this is what baffles me about Jimsy. Like, you gotta. I mean, this is a guy, Jimsy Cornette, that the most athletic thing he ever did was dangle off a scaffold and fall and blow out his knee. But to so many of these people, and I got to say my own interactions with Jimsy were really positive because when I gave him a signed copy of my book. He wanted to. It was like a jock sniffer wanting to hang out with Phil and I and do promos with us. And then he managed me when I went against the guy Adam Newsom from MMA in Kentucky, and he always kind of kissed my ass. But then I heard all the stuff he said about Hannibal, and I had to bury him on this channel because, I mean, give me a break. How is this guy an authority on anything manly?
It's like, imagine in the NFL if a guy was running his mouth about shit and the guy never played it down in football. He never stepped outside during a cold fucking practice or never banged heads once. And it's like, whatever, Meltzer can say what he wants, but he at least has a system and a format that does make sense when he's judging a match kind of thing. So over the years, as a type of critic, it's like there's types of critics in wrestling. There's guys that have wrestled and that give you a compliment. And there's guys that are the fantasy wrestler guys that talk about how great a match was that never had a match in their life. And then there's the guys that are so fucking hard on you, and they've also never done shit in fucking wrestling either. So it's like, and they're so critical, and they have nothing really good to say. And it's like, to get a compliment out of Jim Cornette, I guess back in the day, was a miracle. So I thank God I got that. But the guy he's misinformed. He didn't even watch something. It's like Dutch Mantel is the same thing. They didn't even watch it. They're like, oh, well, yeah, I wasn't even there, but I heard from another guy. And it's like, so you're actually getting paid to tell me what you heard from another person.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.